doubt you know there was a bard who wrote a play of King Richard. Shakespeare was his well-known name. We all know of his literary fame. It is a tale of sadness great, as Richard ceased as head of state. In fact, it has some echoes strong, as Richard too takes travels long, to get to Ireland's far-flung isle, for rebel forces there did rile. But we must meet a younger king, of 5 years earlier we must sing. For Richard things were looking up, he took the crown when just a pup. 10 years old to be precise, his barons kept him in a vice, although he had a day of fame, when revolting peasants he did tame. By now he'd cast off the yoke of lords appellant and other folk. He loved to live a cultured life, and cherish his bohemian wife. But now fate took another twist. Anne died of plague, so sorely missed. So off to Ireland he did go, to keep in place another foe. Art MacMurrough, Leinster's king, 8,000 troops Richard would bring. That's really all you need to know. For to our play it's time to go.
Well, Geoffrey, you've really done a great job with this place. That hammer beam roof on the hall is taking shape, and I love the new baths. I do like a good bath. Have you written any more poems recently?
Well, just trying to finish off my Canterbury tales in between dealing with these workmen.
Oh yes, some great characters there. I do miss my Queen Anne so much. It's been 3 months since she died. These wretched epidemics. You'd have thought the plague finished years ago. Anyway, no good moping. I'm off to Ireland to deal with Art MacMurrough, the so-called King of Leinster. The army are gathering already and my itinerary is coming together. I'm not looking forward to crossing Wales though.
Where will you be staying, my lord?
Oh, various nice places. Newport and Cardiff, of course. They say Coity Castle is rather good. And I asked my good friend John Gilbert, who used to be my treasurer, but who I made Bishop of St David's, where the best place to catch my boat was.
I'm afraid I don't know Wales at all, my lord.
Well, he said there's a nice quiet waterway called Milford Haven, where you can avoid the surf on the beach. He says there's a jolly priest in a place called Llanstadwell who knows how to throw a good party. Just the send-off I will need. Right by the water, apparently. His name is Thomas Balymore. I've just sent him a letter.
The royal seal! King Richard, no less. I do hope he hasn't heard about my kayaking in the haven. To my faithful and loyal subject, Thomas Balymore, priest. I have been given your name by my good friend John Gilbert, the Lord Bishop of St David's. He says you keep a good table, grow the choicest vegetables, enjoy the finest wine, and have plenty of swans swimming nearby, which are my absolute favourite. As I am coming to join my army before heading off to Ireland, I plan to make you my last stopping place before boarding ship. Please have a good feast ready and make sure you've got decent privies. I'm very fussy these days since we got our new baths at Westminster. You will be repaid the sum of 40 shillings. That's a lot of money these days. Yours, Richard, King of England and Ireland and big bits of France. Sorry, Wales doesn't count. Oh my, what am I to do? How am I going to get ready in time? Will the privies be finished? Who else will want to come? When will I get my 40 shillings? Oh my. Send for the cook.
Well, we're doing quite well so far. My horse is managing with the rough roads and forested countryside pretty well. Coity Castle was very nice. Sir Lawrence Beercross has done a great job there. Lunch stop in Swansea, then on to Kidwelly Castle. John O'Gaunt's most western property. Nice to be friends with old John O'Gaunt again, for the time being anyway. He's not too bad really, but he really supported John Wycliffe and those tiresome Lollards in the early days. Bible-reading heretics. Oh well, that's something about Wales, I suppose. We've left that lot behind. Then we went on to Carmarthen. What a hole! Did you know I had to fork out £20 to get the bridge across the Towy fixed so I could bring my army baggage train across safely? Then we stopped by at the old Cistercian Abbey in Whitland. The Mortimers are in charge of those parts. And now, here we are at Llawhaden. This is a really nice place. Yet another palace of my friend John Gilbert, Bishop of St David's. I chose this place to stay because he's refurbished it with 4 ensuite apartments. That's my style. Off to Havford tomorrow, not far to go now.
Well, good afternoon, my man. Good to see you working.
Thank you, sir.
Have you heard that the king is coming?
Well, no, I have heard actually, sir, because I've been talking no else all day.
And have you heard that we have to give him a feast?
Well, I must say I had heard that, sir, and I've been looking around the garden, wondering what we might give him.
And what might we give for the king?
Well, it's a shame he's come now, to be honest, because these peas aren't quite ready. Give them a couple of weeks. But we got last year's beetroot.
Last year's beetroot.
Yeah, they're a little bit on the tough side, but I reckon if we roast them well, then they'll be all right.
What about these nettles? Are they any good?
Well, nettles is what I would have most evenings for my tea, to be honest. So nettles is fine if you stew them well.
Now, there's one other thing.
Yeah.
Between you and me, he's a little bit concerned about his privy. And I wonder whether that affects what he may eat.
Oh, well, if that be the case, sir, then perhaps we won't give him quite so many of them nettles.
Okay, good man. Now, these kings, they quite like a dessert.
Ah.
Any ideas there?
Well, now let me see. Oh, we still have a few other St Tidwell's apples left in our cellar. We could make them into something nice for him.
The St Tidwell's apples. Making what then?
Well, I reckon a crumble would be rather nice.
Roasted beets, nettle stew, but not too much, and St Tidwell's crumble. Brilliant. Carry on the good work.
Fine, my sir.
What, really? Why on earth does King Richard want to stop off with Father Thomas? Why not have a banquet here with us, Johnston Manor? I'm quite sure we could have looked after him, well better.
Yes, or we could have had them all here. Or at our other place, Roach Castle, just as easily.
Yeah, and one of our Delaroche families actually joined him on that expedition. He seems very committed. He says he might settle in Ireland afterwards. I don't suppose any of Thomas Balomore's family are going with Richard. Well, I suppose Father Thomas isn't exactly allowed a family.
Well, at least we got an invitation to the feast with King Richard. That's something anyway. I do like a bit of royalty. Which dress do you think I should wear? Will it be the burgundy? Or do you think the blue? Oh, I wonder what Lady Matilda will be wearing.
Welcome to Langham. This is where us Flemings hang out. We're brilliant at looking after sheep, weaving and farming. We show the English, Welsh and the Normans how to do it. And we can fight too! Dad! Dad! A messenger just brought this. He said it was urgent. You are invited to a banquet with the king, who is visiting Llanstadwell before he sails to Ireland. Thomas Balymore, priest. No, we cannot go to this. We have to look after our farm and our businesses. Tell him it's too far to come.
Okay, Dad. I'll try and catch you.
Wel, wel, beth yw hwn? Gwahoddiad I fynd I Llanstadwell. Mae hynny tu hwnt I Lansga. Beth ydy amdano?
Darllenaf nawr. As a friendly gesture, I have been instructed to invite Cadogan ab Chreis and Gladys, daughter of Iestyn ab Gergant, to a feast with King Richard at my house in Llanstadwell. Thomas Balymore, priest.
Brenin Richard. Beth erioed mae wedi ei wneud I ni Gymru, ond cymryd yn milwyr gorau I brwydro mewn ei rhyfeloedd tramor.
A gawn taith diogel?
Gobeithio.
Well, look at you lot gathered here. So which one of you fine birds is going to make it into Reverend Balymore's pie to serve to the King this evening? Come on, any volunteers? Oh, go on. Put a wing up. Ah, hiding, are we? I think it might be you. Lovely.
Oh, do please hurry up. King Richard is specially included in his letter about the facilities at Llanstadwell. He wants the very best. He has such sophisticated ideas, this king. I mean, what's wrong with the old privy, really? Come on, hurry up! Hurry up!
And so you see, things move on apace. The fleet is gathering. It's like a race. And little Llanstadwell plays its role, and Irish history nears its goal. Now we must learn a little history, or the following scene might be a mystery. For us, things take an interesting turn. For the Bible's teaching we don't spurn. John Wycliffe came with a passion dear to translate the scriptures into English clear. Heresy was the cry at his teachings bold. They thought his followers out of the fold. But the Lollards grew and held the right. Richard's force had more than one Lollard knight.
Now King Richard's army's coming, you'll have to join them, dear.
Yes, we're off to Ireland. Richard has managed to get a really fine force together. It's the biggest army to go to Ireland since King John's time.
But do you think you'll be okay, dear? We hear things are getting more and more difficult for people like us with the Lombard sympathies.
Oh, we've still got powerful supporters. Not John of Gaunt anymore, but there are a lot of Lollard knights like me at the court. It would be hard for them to turn against all of us. I can name quite a few. Thomas Latimer, John Trussell, Lewis Clifford, Sir John Pesh of Wormleighton, Richard Story, Reginald Hilton, William Neville, John Clanvow, John Montague and William Beauchamp.
Dad, do you think anyone in the army will be bringing some more of those manuscripts with bits of the Bible in English so we can understand it? Ours is so worn out and I can't understand the Latin we hear in church at all.
Yes, I think there would be lots of other people around here who would like to read about what our Saviour did in their own tongue.
Just be careful, I say. This is the best way, what we are doing, passing round the scriptures from one to another. At the moment, the church, and it looks like the king, is against us, but things are bound to change one day.
All I can say is, I hope people never take this wonderful book for granted again. All those years we only heard it in Latin. We never really knew the story of God's love.
Well, we're all invited to the feast with King Richard when he comes at Ballymore's before you set off to Ireland with him. We had better be on our best behaviour and mind what you say, girls.
Let me just read this bit I found. Forsooth, God so loved the world that he gave his one begotten Son, that each man that believeth in him perish not, but have everlasting life.
It was nice to see Richard again. After all, I spent a lot of time with him when I was his treasurer. And he obviously thought well of me, because he made me bishop here. It feels a long way away from London sometimes. Still, I quite enjoy being a bishop. And there is something about this place. From Clarendon, King Richard went on to Haverford. He knew he had to sail to Ireland soon, but he wanted to do a detour here from Haverford first. He came to pray at the shrine of St David. I think it was partly because his ancestor King William the Conqueror had done that in 1081. But more, I think it was because he was missing his wife Anne of Bohemia so much. She had only died earlier this year. We left him to himself at the shrine. We didn't interfere or ask questions. Maybe he wanted help for his expedition to Ireland also. Anyway, he's gone now, back to Haverford probably. Then he's making a last stop off at Llanstadwell, where Thomas Balymore is priest. I told him Thomas would do him proud before he boarded his ship.
Well, I'll be glad when we've got the rest of the army on board the ships and set sail now. I can't stand all this waiting around. Anyway, the King's lucky with his expedition to Ireland, because some of his troops come from here, Wales. Some of the bravest fighting men there are. A number have already shipped over from North Wales, and they'll be waiting for us when we get there. We've just got to wait for the King now, and I've had this invitation to go to Thomas Balymore's for the send-off. Should be quite a party. King Richard has given him 40 shillings to put on a good show. That's a lot of money in these days. I hope it's soon anyway. I hate waiting when a campaign is about to start. Once we get to Ireland, we'll have our hands full with Art Mac Murrough and his wild Irishmen. What is it I read the other day in Adam Usk's Chronicle? All Leinster trembles at the might and puissance of Art Mac Murrough. We'll see about that.
Hello, keep your voices down. I don't want anyone to hear what I have to say. There could be people eavesdropping. I've come here on instruction from King Art MacMurrough, the fine King of Leinster. He sent me over to find out what I can about King Richard, his plans for invading Ireland, what men he has, when they plan to set off, and where they plan to land in Ireland. I have a fast ship waiting down at the beach. I intend to go to Father Balymore's festival. At the festival, I want to speak to his generals and courtmasters, also some of the ship crew themselves. Find out what their plans are for Ireland. Any information will be possible. For Art MacMore is a fine fighter, and he will lick the wounds of King Richard. Long live Ireland! It will never be ruled by England again.
Right then, who have we got coming to Ireland? John of Gaunt can't come, he's in Aquitaine, and his brother the Duke of York is being left as Keeper of England. But his other brother, the Duke of Gloucester, is bringing 3 bannerets, 20 knights bachelor, 77 squires, 200 horse archers and 100 foot archers. Not bad. Okay, the young Earl of March is bringing 2 bannerets, 8 knights, 99 squires, 200 horse archers and 400 foot archers. That's even more men altogether than Gloucester. Other bigwigs, Thomas Earl of Nottingham, Edward Earl of Rutland, Thomas Holland and Sir Thomas Despencer, they are bringing about 200 men each. Then there are the fighting bishops, of course, the Archbishop of Dublin, the bishops of Chichester and Llandaff. They can't resist a good scrap. None of that lollard nonsense for them. And then we've got lots of household clerks coming to fight.
What do you think then about King Richard coming?
Well, I think Thomas Balymore's going to be awfully delighted to have him here. And I'm very pleased to be cooking for him myself.
Oh, I've heard he's very handsome.
That's inappropriate, Michelle. It's not appropriate to think of him like that. He's your king.
Oh.
You need to pray to the Father. Anyway, we've got a lovely fat swan, obviously modelled on myself.
Oh.
Yeah, he's not quite fitting in that there.
Yes, that's how I like.
Yeah.
That's how I like me
So I was
swans.
just thinking, what shall we have with him? Are you going to put pastry over the top?
Well, I'm doing the dumplings.
Oh. So who's doing pastry?
So we could put them around the edges.
Dumplings and swan. Not really what I had in mind.
Well, I like my swans whole. Without anything missing, so we can't take off anything, we can't break his neck or anything like that. It has to be whole.
Well, I mean, appropriately, he's wearing a crown for the king.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, we must chuck in some carrots.
Okay.
We'll chuck in some carrots, and I believe that herbs are very, very good for swan. Do you mind?
You're head cook. I'm just here to assist.
And there we are. So it's all very exciting.
So, I like asparagus tips. Have we got any asparagus tips?
To go in with swan pie, dear, it's not really going to work, is it?
It's quite an aphrodisiac, apparently. We better not.
We don't want the king to get all messed up.
We better not.
No, I know he's in Nayland. Onion. Every bird needs an onion up their bum.
Is our priest very excited?
Is
he very nervous?
I think the priest is very excited. The garden's been trimmed, the kitchen's been busy, and we've just got to pull out our best china for the king. Well, it's probably pewter plates, actually, isn't it?
Anyway. I think you've been drinking too much meat, chef.
Oh, speaking of which, should we have a Keith Floyd? Let's have a little slurp of mead.
Thank you.
We could actually flavour the bird with a bit of mead.
It's only usually at Christmas we have this.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get the onion in, and then we shall toast our bird. Oh. So how are your dumplings coming on?
Coming on very nicely.
Would you like to show your dumplings to the camera?
How many do you think we'll need?
I don't know, because I've killed actually 2 birds. I know I only selected 1 initially, but I didn't think this would go very far. I've heard the king's a bit of a porker.
Oh, I've heard he's handsome.
Oh, really? Oh, the carrot.
It's quite an event.
It is indeed. I think we're going to have to pray for some time after this. Righty-ho. What are we doing with these dumplings, madam?
Dumplings ready.
Come on then, dear. I shall pray for you. And how long in the oven?
Oh, for the whole bird?
Yes.
Oh, I don't like to see it doing too long. It'd be too tough.
Well, let's say a prayer and do a toast for the bird with the mead.
Sounds like a good
Right, let's go. Please, Lord, be kind to us. We don't want to kill the king with food poisoning. Amen.
Amen.
The king isn't far away. We've heard he's been to St David's. The feast is coming on nicely. The servants have tidied up the house. The gardener's got the place as good as we can. But the new privies aren't finished. Oh dear. The king loves nice privies.
Oh, it's hard work. Well, all life for us is hard work. Since the Black Death, there's so much more for each peasant to do. At least they've had to put our wages up a little bit. Supply and demand and all that.
Well, I don't suppose we'll get an invitation to Thomas Balymore's banquet for King Richard, will we? Peasants like us have to toil all the time.
No, we really missed our chance when that peasants' revolt fizzled out in Kent and London. This was a good one people haven't forgotten, though, have they? When Adam delve and Eve span...
Who then was the gentleman?
Ha ha ha, good point, that. I don't think it's going to make much difference to us, though.
No.
Now, Captain, I do hear King Richard is going to be crossing over to Ireland in your ship. Can you tell us a little bit about the crossing, what route you'll be taking? and what kind of crossing he can expect.
Well, to part from, you see, because we can bring the flat-bottom boats up onto the stone here, and then they can bring the carts down to load all the stuff that'll need to go with him. And then when the tide comes in, off they'll go to my ship, which is moored down in Dale Roads, just beyond Milford there. So, yeah, it's quite a journey from there, mind you. It's October now. Well, we're getting on for October now, and it's going to be a rough crossing if the autumn storms catch us out on there. We'll have to head outside the haven, and the sea gets quite big when you get out there between the islands, and the tide rushes by very strongly. We'll head out between Skoma and Skocum, and then head northwestish as the tide rises, you see, because the tide rises northwest, taking us across a bit, and then as the tide turns it comes down southwest, dragging us more around the Irish coast that way. So there'll be quite a bit of timing to get right with the tides and the winds, and we don't want to be arriving in Ireland at night or in the dark, because there's rocks and islands all over the west, over the coast there, and coming out between the west coast of Wales and onto Ireland. So it's quite tricky all in all. And all that said as well, there's lots of pirates there. Saracen pirates can come and take small boats if we get split up from the convoy or lost in the dark. And there's problems with all sorts of things that can happen out there. Some people say there's even sea monsters, but I've never seen them myself.
Well, you've given us a good picture there, thank you. So when do you hope to get going?
Well, we need to be going fairly soon, you see, because I need to get out to my my boat ready to make sure everything's shipshape to receive the king, and he'll be departing from here fairly soon, I think, in the next few days.
Well, aren't you going to stay for Father Thomas's banquet?
Oh, well, I don't know. I suppose I could trust my my deputy to keep the boat shipshape, and it's going to be quite a good banquet, isn't it?
It will indeed. Well, thank you very much, Captain.
Okay, we are just going to check that there is a boat ready to take King Richard off to his ship after the feast. Good, there it is. I hope Thomas Balymore will keep an eye on the tides, because if there's not enough water here for the king to get away, he'll be stuck for an extra tide.
This will just have to do. Maybe King Richard won't want to go anyway. At least we've got lots of privy paper.
Welcome, welcome everyone. No jostling, please. Keep your distance. Friar Balymore's house isn't that big. As you know, we're all assembled, just waiting for the arrival of King Richard. I'm sure that, like me, you're very excited. Truly, this is a great day for us all. It's hard to find the right words sometimes, but I must try. Here goes. This royal throne of kings, this sceptred isle, this earth of majesty, this seat of Mars, this other Eden, demi-paradise, this fortress built by nature for herself, against infection and the hand of war, this happy breed of men, this little world, this precious stone set in a silver sea, which serves it in the office of a wall, or as a moat defensive to a house, against the envy of less happier lands, this blessed plot, this earth, this realm, this England. meaning they're of course Little England beyond Wales. I was quite pleased with those lines. I hope no one else pages them. And now for something completely different. While we're waiting for King Richard to arrive, I would like to invite you to take up a piece of parchment and a quill, because we're going to have a Richard II quiz. The Richard II quiz. The first 4 of these questions will show whether you've been paying attention. Question 1. What was being constructed at John of Gaunt's castle at Kidwelly at the time King Richard stayed there? Was it A, the North Tower, B, the Gatehouse, C, the moat, or D, a new dining hall? Question 2. In Carmarthen, the bridge over the River Teivi had to be repaired so Richard and his army and baggage train could get across. How much did Richard contribute? Was it A, 20 shillings, B, £5, C, £20, or D, £40? Question 3. On his journey across Wales after Carmarthen, why did Richard decide to stay at the bishop's house at Llanstadwell rather than the Cistercian abbey at Whitland? Was it A, it was nearer to his route, B, he didn't like Cistercian monks, C, it had 4 ensuite apartments, or D, they would look after his horse better? Question 4. After Haverford, Richard took a detour before heading to the Haven. Was it to A, the Knights Templar at Slevech, B, St David's Shrine at the Cathedral, C, Pembroke Castle, or D, Carew Castle? Number 5. Who was King Richard's favourite saint? Was it St David, St Edward the Confessor, St Christopher, or St George? Question 6. Which 2 of the following is King Richard II credited with inventing? A, using a spoon for eating, B, a red case for ministers of the crown to use for documents, C, the handkerchief, or D, the bidet? Now the last 4 questions are either true or false. The answer to each of these, true or false. Question 7. Richard's grandfather was the Black Prince. Question 8. 3 kings were present at his christening. Question 9. King Richard ordered for the house where Queen Anne had died to be destroyed. Or question 10. King Richard assaulted the Earl of Arundel at his wife's funeral.
I can see him coming. We're ready, Your Majesty.
Thank you, Adjutant. That's good. Well done. Well, Father Thomas, what a wonderful spot you have here. My old friend, Bishop John Gilbert, must think very highly of you to have put you here. He says you keep a good table, have some fine wines, and a lovely log fire in winter.
Thank you, Your Majesty. We like it here, and my gardener says it's a great spot for growing things.
Oh, it is, guys. It's on microclimate, Your Majesty. Would you like me to tell you all about it?
No, thanks, gardener. I've got to catch a boat, and I can see people gathering for the feast already, which, after all, cost me 40 shillings.
Talking of which, Your Majesty...
Later. By the way, gardener, I tied my horse up by the old apple tree down in the orchard.
Oh, no, that be the old St Tidwell's apple tree. It's the only one of its kind in the land.
No. Quiet. Your Majesty, please, this way, come in. Would you like to take a seat, Your Majesty?
To Father Thomas Balymore and all the good folk of Llanstadwell. Do say grace, Father Thomas.
Let us pray. Oculi omnium aspiciunt, et in te sperant Domine. Amen.
Now what have we here? Oh my, do you have a privy by any chance?
And so it's time to tuck in, friends. Your feast will help make amends for any imperfections of our play concerning the history of this short stay in Nayland of our royal king, Richard, for whom the bells might ring. We're not our sacred church locked down, which causes us all to frown, just as in the days of bad King John, excommunicate by a pope long gone. So raise a glass and drink your mead, as Richard leaves his trusty steed to board a ship to Ireland's shores, to try his luck in feats of wars. But that will be another tale, another bard will find detail, only too glad to tell the sequel, though not of our play to be its equal. As we begin, a minstrel will strum, At least King Richard can wipe his bum.
Speed, royal boat, like a bird on the wing, onward the sailors cry, bringing the man who is England's king to Ireland's green fields, oh my. We've heard the tale of meeting his host, joining this banquet rare. Nothing quite like a real swan roast in Llanstadwell's patch so fair. Speed, royal boat, like a bird on the wing, onward the sailors cry, bringing the man who is England's king to Ireland's green fields, oh my. Thomas the name, 'tis known from the board of vicars down many a year. 40 shillings in his purse, like an eagle he soared, having the king so near. Speed, royal boat, like a bird on the wing, onward the sailors cry, bringing the man who is England's king to Ireland's green fields, oh my. Art McMurrow may be a very nice bloke, 'tis not as the Welsh to complain. Of our neighbours we bow to the English folk in dear old King Richard's reign. Speed, royal boat, like a bird on the wing, onward the sailors cry. We played our parts, we did our bit, braving the lock down here. Lollards and ladies and peasants fit, we can't all have a role as a peer. Speed, royal boat, like a bird on the wing, onward the sailors cry, bringing the man who is England's king to Ireland's green fields, oh my.